Hello my friends and welcome back to Italy, a place to love YouTube channel. Today is the second part of a video that I have already done part 1, where I was reading a post on a group on Facebook that I'm following, which is called Expats Living in Italy. Each time I have to read because I forget. Expats Living in Italy. And so I'll go back now to this video. I will read the post again, like for you, if you didn't watch part 1, at least you know what we are talking about, and then I will keep reading the comments under this post. Now, to make it shortly, there is this post: Ciao everyone, I'm in the early stages of exploring buying a property in Italy, and I'd love to learn from you your experience. For those who have been through this journey, now, what was your main concern about buying in Italy, particularly in the early stages when you were just starting to explore the idea? Okay. How did you handle the financial side? Did you use any Italian bank, your home bank or savings? Any tips on this are welcome. What surprises, good or bad, did you experience that you wish you would have known about before? So I would be especially grateful to hear from people who have bought in the last few years. Thank you in advance for sharing your experience. Now, in part 1, I have already read some comments, okay, under the video. Then I had to stop part 1. And now I keep reading the comments under this post, which are actually very interesting, so it's good for you to know before buying a property in Italy. Okay, now let's read this comment. Early main concern: being on a train or bus line, can't lease or own a car unless you are a citizen or resident. Weather in summer could be brutal. Now, let's go back first. This guy is concerned about the fact of the driving license, okay? So basically, in Italy, if you are an American citizen, because you are allowed to stay only 90 days, so you are only allowed to drive this period. But then, if you want to settle here, and then you get permesso di soggiorno, and the visa, anyway, you need a car, and you can get the driving license only once you can convert your driving license only once you get permesso di soggiorno. This may put you a bit in a difficult situation. And also is complaining about the summer, that the weather can be brutal, simply because, anyway, the temperature here in the south of Italy, in particular, for example, where I am, but generally all over Italy, the summer, the temperature are quite high. Now, I don't know in Fahrenheit, but I know, for example, in Celsius, and we reach around 40 degrees Celsius, so it's quite high. Then, the financial side is say only pay cash. I could agree, for example, but then should be investigated. Then surprises. The more I explored, I have spent about 9 months in the last 10 years looking. The more sober I became about the reality of Italy, the romance of it wore off. And I can understand, for example, if you are not lucky from the very beginning, you might find some difficulties. So the dreams, the romance could finish, for example. Now, I learned that some areas of the rural south are pretty isolated and lack basic public works. I can agree with this. For example, so if you are living in a small town like me in the south of Italy, you are pretty much isolated. So it depends, for example, what are you looking for, then go back with the car, for example. To live in such a small place like me without a car can be an issue. Okay, then some properties only have cisterns. Now he refers about water. no well or municipal water supply. Some places don't have electricity. Okay, I think it's a bit exaggerating. Unless it's an abandoned place in the middle of nowhere. I never seen places without electricity in Italy. And I'm a person with strong Italian ancestry. I also learned that an Italian American is not an Italian. That's an interesting point. Anyway, even by being Italian by ancestors, he might still not find himself Italian. Italian, technically, you are Italian when you speak fluently Italian. Doesn't matter what your nationality is. This is my opinion. You can be, doesn't matter where you're from. Once you're fluent in Italian, that I won't be able to understand. But fluent, because until I can understand that you are not Italian while you're speaking, for me you will never be Italian. But you all have the right to live here. I mean, here, it's like me, for example, when I was living abroad, I never had perfect English, and so I could never be considered as a native, for example. And that's fair, anyway. So, some of the good things. The bus and train service is amazing. So, he likes, for example, this, especially compared to the United States. Now, I don't know about the United States. Here, I'd say train services are good. The buses also could be better, can always be better. In particular, when you're living in such a small place like me, that you might need maybe more transportation. If you're living in a big city, this problem doesn't exist. Connections everywhere. All the places are well connected when you live in a city. When you're living in a smaller place, anyway, the smaller, the harder to find, to commute from one place to another by bus. The food seems more nutritious. Lots of great opportunities to swim in the sea and snorkel, two of my favorite pastimes, hiking too, and here you can swim for a long, not only in the summer anyway. Okay, now let's keep reading the answer to this comment. How did you start your process? How did the car thing become apparent? I can understand how this would be a showstopper. Did you end up buying anything after 10 years searching? Because this guy who wrote the comment, he was saying that it's 10 years traveling around Italy and he spent around 9 months, let me say 1 year out of 10, he spent here and he hasn't purchased it yet. So, and then he's replying, I started with mere curiosity after falling in love with Umbria in 2012, Umbria region. Then I came to realize that there are amazing real estate values in Italy, which is actually true, along with the fact that I could afford to pay cash, like many. Then I started analyzing jure sanguinis citizenship. I'm eligible, but it has been a bureaucratic nightmare dealing with the Philadelphia consulate. Now, can be bureaucracy. I don't think it's only with the Italian consulate in Philadelphia. So, bureaucracy in Italy, hands up, you know, it's all a big question mark, if you're lucky, if you're unlucky. Unfortunately, this is one of the things that I have to actually state here when I'm talking about Italy. Also me, everyone is facing all the same problems, even Italian people, okay, when we are dealing with bureaucracy. Then I started exploring all the regions to find which felt most like home. The karting was brought to my attention more recently by a friend with a similar dream. Okay, so these are brought to the attention, like now to this guy who wrote the post. I've not made any offers, but a few things in Puglia and Piemonte region got my attention. The Puglia property sold 3 days after it was shown to me, so it was very unlucky. The Piemonte property just seemed unpractical, a chalet and a stone cabin near Torre Pellice. Now, I know very well this area. Torre Pellice is a beautiful town in the Alps, in Piemonte Alps. I mean, I know people, friends who are living there, who have holiday home there. I would highly recommend. Torre Pellice is beautiful. You really have to get boots on the ground, in my opinion. Another factor for me has been the fact that I have yet to find a region or province that really feels like home. Okay, anyway, these are interesting posts under the comment. Then someone else is saying geographical futures are things to look for. Most people living in an area with similar futures will feel that connection. Yeah. Thanks for Dan who wrote the post. Gently reply to this comment and say thanks for elaborating. Have you been doing most of your exploration online from the US? There's no answer, but this is another good question. That's, for example, my videos about the properties for sale are simply to help people abroad just to see the properties are on the market. I consider my videos about the properties for sale very useful, because anyway, if you are doing your own research, you have to go there and might be a bit not complicated, but could be slow and frustrating to search for properties. My videos, you sit there, I'm doing the job for you. So I'd say then obviously you can do the same practice as me. I'm also helping people to practice how to find properties online in Italy through the Italian website like Immobiliare, Idealista and so on. Now let me keep going. Now here there is an advertising that I'm not gonna read. Now let me read another comment. The main criteria for property purchased anywhere is resaleability, steady values, good location and demand. I totally agree with this comment if you are in the same boots. Okay, if this is what you're looking for, if you're planning to resale, so as an investment, then I would say yes. Anyway, go for this type of criteria. Resaleability for me is not a criteria. I bought my dream place and I will never want to resell it. Exactly, that's exactly what I said. So it's very, very interesting. Now there is another comment, quite long. I hope I have enough time without making part 3, because there are so many interesting comments and making a part 3 might turn very boring. Anyway, let's read. First, principal concern was that it is very much a caveat emptor, buyer beware, environment with few, if any, built-in protection or standardized contracts. Bit complicated, but anyway. Resolved that by conducting all negotiation through our solicitor, which ultimately saved the transaction as well as more than saving his fee. Folks will say a solicitor is unnecessary, and they're absolutely right. I'd say it's necessary. I think if nothing goes... okay. Folks will say a solicitor is unnecessary, and they're absolutely right. Then, if nothing goes wrong. Our transaction took 13 months and was in peril at many points. Very, very happily now living in our new home and thankful for the good advice we received by the solicitor. So, because it's important to take advices from a solicitor, not to have a good notary, solicitor, attorneys, call it as you want. Then, about the money transaction, just use Schwab and Wise. Ongoing we use Schwab, Wise and occasionally PayPal, where Wise is not accepted, one of my utilities, for example. IMU, which is the property tax in Italy, it's called IMU, IMU, paid in cash at the post office or electronically by an accountant. No local bank needed. It can be problematic to open a local bank account and fees are much more than we thought reasonable. Agree. So this person didn't need to buy, for example, with an Italian bank account. So it's possible also to not have a bank account in Italy. So far, 1 year in, we have not needed an Italian account. Posted all deposit, with notario, not with seller or reagent. Do everything through the notario, notary, okay? Very, very important. Now, who wrote the post said, thanks for chiming in. Did you know from the start that verifying the property was the buyer's responsibility? How soon did you engage a lawyer and what prompted your decisions to do so? And then there was the reply, Andy, as soon as I read the re-agent proposal initial contract, I realized I was out of my depth on mores and expectations. So that's why it's very important to have a legal advice. Now, doesn't matter, spend some money, but you're gonna be sure through a proper legal advice that you won't have any issues. Then also there is the thing that you have to find legal advice in English. But if you do your own research online, you find nowadays plenty of solicitors in English language who are working in English language and look after you properly. Okay, now let me see my timing. Okay, all right, let me see. I should be able to read one or two more comments. My concerns are about whether the property conform exactly the Catasto plans. Okay, so she's very concerned, this person, about Catasto, what we call Catasto, where you register the floor plan of the house. If it doesn't, this has to be sorted by the seller, ideally before the sale. I already done a video about this, so even a small deviation can be a problem. Exactly. Also, if works needs to be done, what obligation do you have to bring it to code standards? So then obviously this is a problem. I covered this topic once, I might recover again in the future, about the fact that if you are buying a property and it's not matching with the Catasto, then it's on your shoulders to pay if you want to put all the papers in order. Even if the notary should stop, but anyway, it's a bit complicated. If you pay cash, these things might not really. Anyway, let's keep reading one more comment before I'm gonna close this part 2, because maybe I might need to do a part 3, hopefully not. Main concern was to find a place with not too much work in the area. Main concern was to find a place with not too much work in the area I wanted. It took a year and I ended up with a place twice the price I was looking for, but no regrets at all. So it's not talking about jobs, it's talking about renovation work. So my concern was to find a place with no much renovation work to do in the area he wanted. It took a year and I ended up with a place twice the price I was looking for, but no regrets at all. This is the thing. All my videos about properties are, no, I'm not saying against, but I'm looking for properties with no renovation. No, for example, you might contact me privately and ask me to help you to find a property. I will try to drive you, you choose the location, you choose the budget, and so on. And this to make it, anyway, a bit easier. I might take this on me. That's the only thing I can do. And these are what my videos are for. Now, some replies. I love many regions in Italy, but I really fell in love with the village I am in, so it was quite easy to decide where to buy, someone replied. And then who wrote the post said, how did you start your search? It sounds like you already had the geography in mind. I made a video in the very beginning, the 6 rules to follow when you want to buy a property. Anyway, I'll remake it another one because I see on so many videos, then it's harder to find the one that people might want to look for. What did you do after that? Were you already in Italy at the time? Did you know someone who could help? How did you go about it? Obviously, these are all legitimate questions. Okay, I'm just gonna read one more answer. I knew I wanted to buy a house in the mountains, but I didn't have any fixed ideas. And then we went on holiday in that place, only for 3-4 days in the summer, staying in a hotel. And when we were out on a walk, we saw this amazing house for sale in a little village up to 1,800 meters altitude high. We began dreaming, so they bought in the mountains at a quite high altitude. They were kind of looking for an isolated place. We began dreaming about it during the whole day, and then we called the agency. We learned that it had just been sold, but that started the quest, so I looked every day in Immobiliare, and we went again and again to that place. The next summer we came back with a nice souvenir, and after that we discovered that there was an amazing ski resort 5 minutes away. Great. And the dream was complete, but it's a secondary residence, so I had no consideration for job availability, school, hospital, exactly, if it's second accommodation. I'm still planning to move on a permanent base. There's once my children are independent. Okay, my friends, so I'm closing part 2. I won't make part 3. I will make part 3 only if it's gonna be asked and to be keep reading this comment. There won't be many, but anyway, if you want to know more about this topic, just write in the comment section, and I'll see you to my next video here on Italia Place to Love. Bye!